What is up people, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Lift-850 jump pack in Helldivers 2, so let's get into it. To purchase the jump pack you're going to go to ship management, head over to stratagems, and then down to the hangar section where you'll find it. The description reads as follows: enables the user to jump higher than gravity and safety would normally allow, must be charged before use. It has a call-in time of 5 seconds, the uses are unlimited, and it has a cooldown time of 480 seconds. It costs 6,000 requisition credits and it's going to be unlocked for you at level 8. To use the jump pack you're going to hold X on PlayStation 5 or the spacebar on PC, but double check that because I've heard different things. Just check what your bindings are, and once you land back down you're going to have about a 20-second recharge time. So now that that's all out of the way, let's get into the review. I'm going to discuss pros, cons, and then do a final review. So my first pro is going to be the get out of jail free card that this stratagem offers. I feel like that is really nice. If anybody's played on the higher difficulties, you know that there's a high likelihood that you're going to end up getting swarmed by enemies on all sides, and that's a very difficult situation to get out of, especially if your only options are going to be either to run or shoot your way out. Sometimes it's just not going to be possible, so having this jump pack is going to allow you to get out of them situations more often than not. And the fact that once again you're going to be playing on higher difficulties when you're really trying to hang on to your stratagems, your lives, and any samples that you have, I feel like that's really nice. The next pro is going to be jumping over obstacles. It is a jump pack after all, whether that be bushes that will slow you down, rocky terrain in general, or fences that you'll find guarding a lot of objective areas. It's very nice to be able to continue on in a straight line, getting to your objective as quickly as possible while keeping as much distance between you and whatever enemies are chasing you. The next pro is going to be boosting into safer areas. You've probably seen blue and white buildings scattered around the map, and while these can be handy for a bit of high ground because you can get on top of them without any extra assistance, they're also not the best because they can be easily destroyed via airstrikes, hell pods, or enemies as well. So what you really want is a piece of high ground that's indestructible, and that's where the jump pack comes in, getting you to them areas that you normally wouldn't be able to go. This is especially useful on the smaller maps where you're doing missions like eradicate terminate swarms or eradicate automaton forces, as well as just evacuations in general. On to the next pro, it's going to be the amount of distance you can cover in a shorter amount of time. This can vary, and I will get into it when I talk about the cons, but if used correctly you definitely will save yourself some time, especially playing them 40-minute large map missions with so many different objectives to get to, whether it be launch the ICBM and get the launch codes, or destroy supply bases. Anything that's going to save you time doing that is very good. Another pro relating to traversal around the map is going to be the elimination of fall damage. If you haven't used the jump pack, the way it basically works is there's one boost that throws you up into the air and another boost right before you land, which stops you from taking any fall damage. A lot of people don't like this because it's not a true jetpack, and I understand, but once you wrap your head around how that works, you can kind of use it to your advantage, because no matter what the distance is between yourself and the floor, you're never going to take any damage because of that short boost. This is useful in numerous different situations. If there's an objective that's far down a hill, you're going to be able to just throw yourself off of that using the boost. You're not going to take any damage, and you're also going to cover quite a significant amount of ground. If anybody has played the eradicate terminate swarms missions, there is a lot of them where there's one high extraction point and one low one. If the pelican ever goes to the low one, I'll literally just boost from that high point right down on top of it, and the same goes if you're using any of them safe areas I was talking about earlier. Anywhere you need to go, you don't need to worry because you're never going to take fall damage. I have a little 2-for-1 pro here, and that's going to be throwing airstrikes as well as reinforcements. If you hold your L2 and your R2, you're still going to get that aim button while you're in the air using the jump pack, and that can be useful if you're just trying to get some extra distance on your airstrikes, or see over whatever obstacles are in your way, or just throw your teammates further away so they have more time to come down and get themselves situated so they're not in the middle of a swarm of enemies. It's good for both of them reasons. And my final pro, and probably one of the best ones, is the ability to dodge enemies. I kind of touched on this earlier with the get out of jail free card, but when I was referring to that I really meant get out of jail for free, as in you're so low on health or there's so many enemies that the only thing you're doing is running away, whereas this is for when you're still engaging with enemies. It's so important and so useful, especially on the higher difficulties. Some enemies which this works really well against is going to be berserkers, bile spewers and chargers, especially chargers, which are so annoying. I know some people are going to say, but you can just dodge. If you've played the higher difficulties, you know though, that's only going to really work well if you've got one charger, for example, because what ends up happening is one charger will come, you'll dodge out of the way of that, but the charger that is 1 second behind the first one is then going to charge at you, and you're still only going to be getting up from the ground. And to be honest, chargers and diving never really goes together too well. They're either going to stomp on you, hit you with their tail, or they're going to turn on the spot like an elite athlete and just take it off the smokes, which is why this is such a huge pro, because not only are you able to dodge enemies, but you're able to relocate completely. And now we're on to the cons, and the first one is a bit of a rumour. I say that because when I tested it myself I didn't notice any difference, but I did see people talk about it online, so I said I'd mention it. Maybe it's been patched, I'm not too sure, but that's that your type of armour will determine how far you can travel with the jump pack, meaning if you are wearing heavy armour you're not going to go very far at all compared to if you're wearing medium and once again light armour. I know some people could say that this is a balancing feature, but I don't think the jump pack offers enough in terms of its pros. As much as I do love it, that it should have a con like this. Onto a con that's not really that big of a deal, but I thought I would mention it anyway, is the fact that you can't aim in first person when using the jump pack. Personally, I think it would be too janky, and there's not a lot of situations where you're going to want to aim in first person while using the jump pack, so it's not that big of a deal. But onto something that definitely is the fact that you actually lose stamina when using the jump pack. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but it does happen. Personally, I think it's a bit ridiculous. Surely you shouldn't lose stamina. If anything, you should gain lost stamina, because you're not walking or running, you're flying through the air. But that's just me. Another con is the amount of distance you can travel using the jump pack. I know I said that this was a pro earlier on, but I did say I would come back and clarify, and I'm doing so now. And yes, if you can find the right type of terrain and use it to your advantage, that being hills that are going downwards, provided you need to go downwards, or high up areas, then the amount of distance you can cover using the jump pack is viable. But in other situations where you're simply travelling across flat ground, it is underwhelming, and it would be nice if you could travel a bit higher and further. I understand that it's a jump pack and not a jet pack, but it's definitely something that should be looked at. The cooldown is going to be as big, if not a bigger con for a lot of people, especially the people who have played the original Helldivers, because from what I can tell from watching videos, there was no cooldown when using it. It was as simple as boosting up in the air, and as soon as you landed it seemed to be nearly instantly recharged, compared to this version where you're waiting 20 seconds between each recharge and you only have one use as soon as that happens. Not great. Now I'm on to my final con, and I definitely don't have as many cons as I do pros, but I feel like the cons I do have are quite heavy hitters, and this is another one, and it's the fact that this is a backpack stratagem. It's a con simply because there's so many very powerful stratagems that fit into the backpack category, such as shield generator pack, auto cannon, guard dog rover and supply pack, which makes the jump pack a very hard pick over them, especially because it's a solo item. It really only benefits yourself and not the team, as opposed to the supply pack or auto cannon or even recoilless rifle, and it's passive as well, it doesn't damage the enemy. So that's my final con. My final review is that this is a real love-hate stratagem. There's the people who will think that it's useless because of its fairly long cooldown and lack of distance over flat ground, and like I mentioned earlier, the backpack slot and therefore stratagem slot that it takes up. And then there's other people who will love it for the increased mobility and that get out of jail free card. In my own opinion, I really love the backpack and take it on most occasions, usually with 2 airstrikes and a support weapon. I really love the extra mobility it gives you, and I think that combined with the light armour, it gives you the ability to do solo runs, destroying nests, fabricators, supply bases, or retrieving launch codes without being killed. It's also just very cool. If you see this and set your expectation for a Boba Fett-esque jetpack, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But if you treat it as a jump pack, like the description says, and take them first few rough hours on the chin where you're learning the distance and timing and how to read terrain to make the jump pack as viable as possible, then you could have a very powerful stratagem at your disposal. That being said, I do think it's in need of an upgrade. I believe in the old Helldivers there was no cooldown, and I think that that should make a return. Some people might think that that's overpowered, but at the end of the day it's a passive stratagem and takes up your backpack stratagem, which is a very strong category. So I think that this is actually reasonable, and if not, at least reduce the cooldown by 5 or 10 seconds, or make it so that with every charge you get 2 to 3 boosts. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.